Hello and welcome again to our Super League Pom-Cast. We've, of course, joined again from Only in Rugby League. I've took a break from interviewing club owners and we're back to basics. And it's, of course, Andy from the Only in Rugby League podcast. How have you been, Andy?
All right, basics. That's a new introduction, isn't it?
We're back to basics. We're stripping it back because that's what rugby league's doing at the minute. We're stripping it real back to basics and going
That's
back
true.
to 1950s rugby league. So, but
Yeah.
another reason we're going back to basics is because we're going to classic rugby league. We've gone back to something that we've tried before that we got rid of because it wasn't working and we've tried again. And I'm not on about Nigel Wood this time, but I'm on about the decision to go to 14 teams because I unfortunately did my interview with Clint Goodchild a little bit too early because he was waiting on the decision whether to go into 14 or not. They were very much in the dark until the Super League clubs voted in favour on Monday for it. Now, the reason I say a mental decision is because of the news that's come out very much recently about Sky and Sports England. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. First of all, Andy, 14 teams. We spoke about it before, reducing the player pool. Talk to me about it. Right decision, wrong decision.
If you take it in isolation and you say, and there's no other factors, and you say 14 teams and you get rid of the loop fixtures, brilliant. Because then
Right.
you've got then
Yeah.
you've got then you've got 26 games and magic, but we're going to come on to that as well, aren't we? So
Yes.
in
Don't worry, it's in
theory,
the notes.
in theory, that's great. But then you've so many other factors which we're going to get into. You've got. I know we're going to talk about the way that the teams are picked.
Selected.
Yeah, you've got the biggest one that I don't understand at all is how can you make this decision for 2026 when you've still a year of the current TV deal to do?
Yeah.
That's the bit. That's one of the biggest ones for me.
Which I think that's the first point we'll go into because I feel like
Mm.
we'll talk about the rest of the
Yeah,
the selection
but
committee. Just
yeah,
go on, carry on.
sorry, Johnny. In isolation, 14 teams, no loop fixtures, brilliant. That as a
Com
sport and as a league is what we need. So
completely agree.
that idea alone, brilliant.
Completely agree, Andy. I've said that even online. I've said, listen, 14 teams, great. No loot fixtures, great. Ideally, I'd have reduced the rounds. But we can't do that because of the money.
Mm.
We know the money situation. So, but I want to talk about the Sky TV stance. Now, our favourite Mr. Gledhill came out and said that Sky welcomed it with open arms, this decision. It was a brainwave, a masterstroke from his best mate Nigel Wood's cronies. However, it then came out a day later, as usual, from Matt Shaw, I believe, or Aaron Bower, was it? I think the journalist. Yeah, it was Aaron who did an article saying that basically Sky were unhappy. It's going to cost them an extra 500,000 a year to produce this extra game if they want it. It's a breach of contract, which then triggers, when it comes to the renewal, a reduction in funding.
And
Talk
that's
to me.
something we can't afford. That we can't afford. I mean, Nigel Wood, the first time round, to give him his due, probably negotiated a much bigger TV deal than we've got now.
I could have got that deal in the sporting
Right.
landscape that it was.
Okay. But they're the facts. That's what he's done. Now we've
Yeah.
ended up with this other deal, and now we're in a danger of having less money, which is less central funding. It's just, it's crazy. So are we saying that Sky weren't even involved in any of these discussions? So your
Sounds like
major
it.
broadcaster, who basically are propping up the sport, let's be honest, at this
Yeah.
level, because if Sky walked away tomorrow, would we get the same amount of money from TNT, from Prime, from, I don't know, from wherever you want
The
to put
zone.
Amazon or whatever? We don't know that. But as it stands at the minute, Sky are propping up rugby league, propping
Hmm.
up Super League. So if they're then saying, well, actually, it's gonna trigger a clause that's gonna have a reduction in in money that's coming in, were they not involved in this in the first place? Because it just seems absolutely crazy, doesn't it?
It does exactly sound like that, and the fact that we're even talking about this and these factors that, like you said, why are we doing this when we've currently got a contract sorted? Because the moment that contract changes, it's a breach of contract.
Hmm.
Everyone knows
So,
this. Everyone in
so you
business, in
either have
basic
to.
business, you've got these big businessmen that haven't even thought about that.
Hmm. It's it's similar to a player, isn't it? If you've got a player on a 3-year contract, and then you want to give him a new contract, you have to either upgrade that contract or wait till the end of that contract to do it again or whatever. It's a similar situation. So surely that we can't go to 14 teams, A, before 2027, or B, without ripping up the current TV deal and negotiating a new one that's put in place for 2026.
Yeah, and now I got consulted, and also the fact that this is less than 6 months before the new season starts. So now
Yeah,
you've got clubs, you've then got a recruitment and retention window that is even shorter than before. You look at the NRL, they've brought in two new expansion clubs. Is that for
yeah.
next year? No, it's for
No,
2027 and
that's
2028.
right. That's right, because it's
It's
future
years in
planning.
advance
Yeah.
because you need to plan, you need to get things in place in order to do these sorts of stuff, to get the squad involved.
Well, one of the things that
You're
I find
diluting the
interesting,
league.
yeah, but one of the things that I find interesting is that, and I don't think now looking back, that it's any coincidence that a couple of weeks ago that we announced that the quota was raised to 10,
Hmm.
and now this happened. That's not a coincidence. So
No,
potentially, we
this
could
was
have a
known
hundred.
about
We could have 140 imports next year.
from 84,
Yeah,
nearly doubled.
yeah. And that's not a coincidence in terms of, oh, this news has now come out because now, what, as you said before, the words that you used were diluting the player pool.
The
So we'll
diluting
make that up with
development.
extra imports. That's not
Yeah,
that's not just happened.
no. And it also helps because there's a certain club in the championship that currently has 10 quota players. Not naming any names, but there's a certain club that currently has 10, I believe, from what I've been hearing. So you've
Yeah,
got
but they've
that as
also
well.
yeah, but they've got one of your favourites though.
Yeah, of course, mate.
They've
Honestly,
got
to be fair,
you know.
that's one bonus of the corruption is we may get to see Wonga Blake back in Super League. But we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the selection process now because we've spoken about Sky. Actually, we've not even spoken about Sports England's investigation, but we'll get onto that in the next section under Nigel Wood again.
Hmm.
But this this decision to pick the teams, right? What you're saying is, but for those that don't know, basically the first 12 are picked on IMG ratings. The next two are picked via a selection committee picked for ex-Bradford members, um, ex-Bradford people on the board that are completely neutral, but they are ex-Bradford, nominated by the chair that is the current 25.1% stake owner of Bradford Bulls. No conflict of interest whatsoever, or any. They basically just pick the most corrupt way to get Bradford Bulls into Super League.
Hmm. And again, it's no. We keep using about coincidence. There's no such thing as a coincidence. I don't believe there is.
Yeah.
And Toulouse,
If so, this year's
Toulouse
been a
are
whole lot of coincidences.
yeah, Toulouse are one of the best 14 ranked teams, aren't they?
Yeah,
So again, they're handpicked, and you and I both know that Toulouse aren't getting in, are they?
not unless they're not in that 12 spot. If they're in the 12
Um,
spot, they've got no option. They've got to be in. But I
I
don't
what
think they are because I think they've got an inkling that they're not, and that's why this selection process has been made.
I was reading the other day. I was reading something that Bradford, because of their points were all around Odsal,
Yeah,
or as somebody quoted me on Twitter last night, Chinodzal, which I thought,
Chinobs.
right, right, and and they've got they've now extended the gantry, which is worth a full point.
What?
Honestly, this is what I was reading. So because they've extended their TV gantry, that's worth a full point. They've done something else which is worth 0.25 or whatever.
A third of the ground is condemned.
You know. So, but what
I
I was
also read an
reading
article
was, and
that.
I think it
Go
was
on.
Aaron. I think it was Aaron Bower again, and I think he was saying that um, Salford's predicament at the minute would only wouldn't lose them that many points. It would be on the field stuff, and they'd only lose about 0.25 points. But unless they obviously ended up with points deductions and things like that, and so in their current state, if you like, of being bottom of the league, they wouldn't lose that many points because all the others are off field. But Bradford's, should we call it redevelopment of Odsal, and the bits that count edge them above Salford into 12th place. And there's a real
Surely not.
possibility, yeah, there's a real possibility that Bradford would not be one of the hand-selected teams, but would be there as the 12th because of the work that they've done on the TV gantry and things like that, and the
How can
installation
you?
of the big screen.
Which now actually is a big screen and not just a flat screen um
Yeah,
on
yeah.
wires. But
So they
but
stand to gain almost. I think it's about 2.5 points or something like that.
right, well, if that is the case, then that then highlights the biggest flaws in the grading system to date,
Yeah,
because a third of the ground is condemned,
yeah.
which surely they can't just ignore that in the grading system.
Well, how can you ignore that when um, grounds in Lancashire, teams in Lancashire over the not to do with IMG, but going back about framing the future and all that stuff, were pretty much forced to get new grounds.
Hmm.
And even in the last couple of years, look at the strides that Wakefield have made on their ground. Castleford have put new seats in where the
Yeah,
terracing was down the side. Even they've made strides in trying to improve the ground, and yet I, none of that what I see for Odsal has any benefit for the paying spectator.
no. I mean, it's the Wembley of the North, though. People have to go.
It was in 1953, yeah.
It's honestly a farce, though, isn't it? But the fact is, even if they do make it into the 12, that then pretty much sums it up. That
Mm.
Toulouse would be in 13th, 14th, and it's a way just to go, "Well, see you, mate. We
And
don't want
and
you
I
guys in."
but what I was trying to say was before, when you look at things like that have happened, a little bit like Nigel Wood becoming chair of rugby league commercial and inching his way into the top job that way. When you look at things like the quota, all these things add up. And with hindsight, you look, there you go. That's why that is. And I believe now that if that's the case with Bradford in the 12th spot, it's a way of saying, well, we knew this was going to happen, and there they are. They're there on merit, and now we pick these two, which is blatantly going to be York plus one other.
More than likely, London with Uncle Gary
Yeah, well, exactly that.
at the
So
helm.
again, you look at that situation where he's voted for this situation, saying that Leeds Rhinos have always been in charge, always been pro expansion, etc.,
Yeah,
etc. And yet, how can he have a vote when he has
when
an
his
interest
interest is down in
in a
London.
in a team that's trying to get in Super League? It's not just Nigel Wood. This whole thing is just it's it's just. I'm trying not to use the word corrupt, but I can't think of another
It,
word that's
it's the basics.
that's that's suitable.
It is the most corrupt thing that I've seen in sport since Russia and Qatar got the World Cups, because
Mm,
it's blatant. It's
yeah,
out there in the open and you can see it and you can call it what it is. It is
Yeah,
out and out shambles. I'm
yeah.
not bothered. You can come at me if you want, RFL. You can do what you want because that I'm calling it as it is. If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, not going to be a swan, is it?
Yeah.
So,
You know.
but
But I tell
then,
you
but
what,
then, and
fair
go
play
on.
to Hull and Hull KR who voted against
Yeah,
this motion.
and also adding to that, I am not having this bollocks of well done to Wigan for not voting in favour of it. If you abstain it, you basically voted for it.
Of course, yeah, because you know that the majority are going to vote that way. And what you're saying
And
is, well, it's nothing to do with us.
I've seen
Yeah,
some muppet online going, well, we abstain because it's actually a genius move in case it was 5-5 and then we wouldn't have a deadlock. Piss off.
absolute, absolute
If
nonsense.
you don't believe that, you vote for it.
They,
Stop being an
they,
absolute muppet. Just
they've tried to
call out
take
your
the
club
moral
for what
high
it is.
ground. Yeah, they tried to take the
Yeah,
moral high ground by abstaining, and I'm sorry. And then they said they didn't get all the info in time. Well, everybody else has.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
I don't quite buy that. But it's,
nor do I.
but the two Hull teams, yeah, fair play, and I suspect that you as well as I would be disappointed with Saint's stance on it.
Oh, massively disappointed. I called it out on the day. I said it's an absolute shambles that the owners and the board have even gone through with this. The TV stance and the Sports England stance on the whole Nigel Wood and 14 teams situation is out and out proven that they haven't gone based on a basic business principles and ideas.
Mm,
It's just absolute rubbish. And I am so disappointed at how far we've gone as a club from
mm.
voting for Toronto
Yeah.
and keeping them in the league, from always saying, French clubs are the future and we need to expand the game, to then going, yeah, we'll expand the game to 14s, but
Mm.
at a cost.
Yeah. Hasn't
And
um hasn't Eamon McManus in programme notes over the last couple of years expressed his
a couple of
fondness
months
for the
ago,
French teams and things like that?
couple of
Yeah.
months ago when we played Catalan. He said
Mm.
the exact same things, and yet why are you voting for this method that is clearly going to get rid of Toulouse's chance? Which, if you have a French derby, that is so much marketable. From a
Absolutely.
marketing perspective, it's the dream.
It's the perfect Magic weekend game as well for everybody else that doesn't get to France as well. You know. While we're on the French teams, um, that was an interesting comment, wasn't it? About £4 million into the Perpignan economy
Well, this was
from
where
Nigel Wood.
we were going to go into it. I want Nigel Wood's accountant because he is incredible.
Yeah.
So you've got 4,000 Lee fans travelling over, apparently. They reckon it was closer to 1,800. Um, he then says they spend £1,000 each in Perpignan. So a little child is spending a grand that goes over. Um, so that's 1,000 each, and they all stay in Perpignan. Bollocks.
The way I see it is there's 1,500 fans. Most of them stay in Spain because I know when you've been before, you've stayed in Lorette.
1,400 stay in Lorette
You stayed
or
to Lorette de
Barcelona.
Mar.
Yeah,
You've been there, haven't you,
or
to go to Lorette de
Calella.
Mar and
There's
then go up
four.
by then go up by
Go by
train.
bus,
Yeah, or by bus or by
coach.
train. Yeah. So you're only actually in Perpignan for the day, really, aren't you?
About 8 hours at most.
So how much do you anticipate that you would spend in Perpignan?
Maybe, to be fair, maybe the drug dealers got a lot off the Lee fans in the economy. I don't care that I'm saying that, but maybe they did because maybe that's where they're getting the money. I know one man in particular that may well be using that, but you've got you've got, you're not going to spend £1,000 per
Well,
person.
most of the trip, if the trip's £1,000, most of it's gone on airfares and things and hotels
And
that are not in Perpignan.
that's based in an
You know,
offshore account
uh,
in
and you've
Luxembourg
got
or
your
wherever
ticket.
from Mr.
Then you
Ryanair.
then you've got your ticket, which is going to the club. I would suspect there's less than. certainly less than £100 a head that's going into that. That's going into
Into
that
the local
that
economy, yeah.
economy, and I think that's been
Probably,
extremely generous
yeah,
because if you've
absolutely.
got a family of four that are going, they're not spending £400 in Perpignan.
No. And they're
The
definitely not spending 4 grand in Perpignan.
£100 are young single lads that are going, and they'll go to Perpignan, spend £100 on a few drinks, and then go back. That's basically the economy, isn't it? For that,
Yeah,
if you've got a
yeah.
family, that's not happening times four.
Don't get
So
me
all
wrong,
you're doing
it's
is
bloody
food and
expensive in
drink, isn't it?
Perpignan.
It's what,
It
sorry?
is about €8 a pint in
Yeah.
Perpignan.
So it's food but the economy for Perpignan is food and drink, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's minimal.
Yeah.
It's basically the same amount that um, Hull Harbour would have got at
Yeah.
the marina
Yes,
on
exactly
a
that.
match day.
You're right.
So,
You're right.
but do we tax the Hull
But
clubs
is that not that?
because
So
we bring
actually in
so much?
Perpignan? Well, no. I mean, is that in Perpignan then? Is that not actually the same as any away game for any fan, basically?
Yeah, it'd be
Because
the same as
you go in
if
on the
like York
coach
were
or
in.
whatever. You go in on the coach with the club. You get
Yeah,
there. You might go into the town or whatever if you're early, or it's just like the local thing. If you go on the train or whatever,
yeah.
it's the same for any away game, isn't it?
For the Perpignan economy, it is the exact same as say if Saints took 1,000 to Hull.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
exact same.
I
And the
agree.
fact is, we're making this some sort of fantasy nightmare scenario when it
Mm,
absolutely is not.
yeah,
And it's the same with Toulouse. They're making them to be the devils.
yeah.
I'm not messing. And I was going to go into Magic Round before you brought up the French teams, but we're going to go into the French team argument. So Nigel Wood blames the lack of improvement of the French national team. So he did an interview with the On the Bench podcast with Jenna Brooks and John Wilkin, where he said that the French clubs were basically recommended in Super League on three bases. It was the improvement of the national team, a good day out experience for the fans, and there was something else. And a TV revenue for it. He said they're not giving us any TV revenue. By the way, it's the RFL's job to negotiate that TV revenue,
Yeah, of course.
um, which they've never done and never highlighted. He said they've arguably gone backwards in the French national team, and the only thing they've given is a good day out to the fans. Now, I'm sorry, but how the fuck can you blame the lack of improvement of the French national team when there is one club that is pro, one semi-pro club, when you are ignoring the fact that the English pro side, with 12 pro teams with representatives, if you include Catalans with the English players they have, you've got the players in the NRL. Arguably, the English national team has gone backwards than it was 15 years ago, 16, 17, 18 years ago when it won that Four Nations series, and we've got all them teams. How the hell, Nigel Wood, can you say that and
Yeah.
ignore the principles of the English game? We've gone
But
so
why?
far away from our target of beating Australia, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Why is it down? Why is it down to one club side to improve the national side? Surely that you've got
If
so
not,
many more factors in that. Surely it's about a build-up of the player pool that's in the French league.
yeah,
Surely it's about the development work in getting those to that point.
yeah,
Surely it's about trying to export the best French players into the NRL, as we
yeah.
do as we do with the English players. Is that
You've
not a
seen it with the
similar
NR. You've
scenario?
seen it with the NRLW. They signed two French internationals for the NRLW for this season that are playing over here.
Yeah. Is that not a matter of signing the Super League signing more French players? So that they're not
Yeah,
all in Catalans. Is that not all? Is that not all to do with improving the French national side?
yeah,
It's
and
just
what?
you can't blame this on one club, and I'm not quite sure where they are because we don't play any bloody international, so I'm not quite sure where they are at the minute. Anyway, they
Exactly.
didn't have a
And we
great they
always,
didn't
we
have a
always,
great World Cup. They were poor in the World Cup, but again. essentially what you've got is you've probably got 10 or 11 of the starting 13 that are from Catalans.
Yeah.
You've got a club side playing internationals.
And you can't even say that they didn't improve because last year, when we had an England game and England waltzed it, you can't say, "Oh, well, the French side they've decreased," when one of them two teams was playing after the game that we played against France,
Yeah,
and the
that's
French
right.
internationals
That's right.
couldn't
Yeah,
fucking play.
then they weren't eligible. Yeah, that's right. And again, we spoke about, we spoke last time about the like ruining the lack of the England night games and things like that. Again, there has to be for France. There has to be a pathway of 17s, 19, 21s.
Which there
You know
is,
that type of thing, and
there
they
is.
need more they need more exposure, though, don't they, in
There
international
is. They've
competitions?
got
Yeah,
all the way up until French under
yeah, that's right.
23s.
But
So they've got the
they need more exposure
yeah,
to increase those players, to expose those players to playing at that level.
massively. So at the minute, I decided to look into it because he's completely ignored the actual development aspect of it. An all-time high they reported this year alone in participation levels at all age groups, lads and girls in France.
Hmm. But
All-time levels since
so
post-war.
let me interrupt you there then, because on the flip side of that, and I've said to you before about this, Sport England's money has always been decreased because our participation levels in this country have been reduced
I never hit the target.
and never hit the target. So, when those two things don't add up.
No. Well, it
So,
does because the French are doing it right, and the
yeah,
English aren't when
exactly.
it comes to
Yeah.
development. But yeah, he's completely ignored
Didn't
that, and
didn't they have
the whole
didn't they have the biggest schools or junior festival ever anywhere a couple of
yes,
months ago? Yeah.
yeah. I think that was that in Toulouse or Perpignan? It was one of the two
It
cities.
was one of those, but it was the biggest junior rugby league
Yeah,
sporting event
yeah,
ever.
yeah. Well, I remember when we went into 2000 in 2022 with when it was Toulouse, and we went in the June, the first week of June, and we played them, and they had in the city in the square a tournament with all kids from all the
Mm,
local area, and apparently they have that on every match day where they have like some schools playing. And but then when we went, it was like a huge festival, and it seems to have just got bigger ever since.
yeah,
So, but he's also ignored context. This interview in the bench podcast, which I was fuming at Jenna and John because it was so soft, the interview questions that they did. It was just basically a PR stunt for him to basically villainize the French clubs. Like
yeah,
that's all it was. That's all it was. He ignored that. He didn't mention anything about the actual history of French rugby league, which is crucial when you are talking about rugby league in France. Is
yeah,
knowing that it was banned under
yeah,
the Nazi rule, knowing it was under sanctions and virtually limited to 200 players up until 1995,
yeah,
and then it was finally decriminalized. Like you could de-sanction, so you could finally have unlimited sanctions. All of the resources got stripped and given to rugby union. Even now, they changed sports ministers in 2021, and then he took away the rugby league. Sorry, in 2022, and he took away the rugby league World Cup in 2025, and
yeah,
gave the funding, the new sports minister, to the rugby union World Cup. So
yeah.
these are the things that the French are battling with.
Mm,
You throw into that all these sanctions that the rugby football league's doing to them. We're basically the role of the Nazis
mm.
at the
We're
minute.
squeezing. Yeah,
We're doing what the
we're
Vichy government
yeah, we're
did.
squeezing them out bit by bit, aren't we? We're strangling them,
It's
aren't
what it
we?
looks like on paper.
Yeah. But I suppose the thing with the originally was that Toulouse aren't going to get in, then, are they?
No, I
And I
don't
think
think so.
and it does seem, doesn't it, the minute that they get the chance to get Catalan out in either way, then they
Hmm.
would do. If what was happening to Salford was happening to Catalans, that decision would already have been made.
They'd
You
be
know,
well gone. We've seen it with
but
Toronto.
but you
We've
talk
seen it with
about
Toronto.
Catalans, they've reached grand finals, they've won the Challenge Cup. You know, it's took them 20 years of development as a club. It's one of people's favourite holidays and away days. The match experience, everything they've done. They've got bulls running around the pitch and everything. It's just.
Still the maddest thing I've ever seen at a rugby league game. That I was so
but
glad I was at that game.
but it was, but you know what I mean. They've built as a club. Now I think that's all you can do, and all your offshoots then with like any club here with your foundation and your community programs and things like that is about how you, and they're obviously doing that by holding these massive junior events, increasing participation. I don't really see what more Catalans can do to help French rugby league as a whole,
Nor
and
do I.
Toulouse for that matter. Yeah, so yeah,
The only thing that is more funding, which they'll get elsewhere, I suppose.
yeah,
Hopefully, the government, etc. But they talk about the TV revenue. I'm not messing. It's not Catalans' job to go to the French broadcasters and negotiate a deal. It's up to the RFL and Rugby League Commercial now to go and do that. But it's
yeah,
always been up to them to go and
yeah,
negotiate, and they never have. They've always ignored that. They probably sent
yeah,
a couple of emails, I'm guessing, and gone, "Oh, do you wouldn't mind picking up this game or two, would you?" And
yeah,
also, how many times have they gone to like the Spanish networks?
mm,
Because like the Catalan region, the north of France, where all the big TV revenues are, that broadcasters are, don't really
mm,
like South France. But you
yeah,
got the Catalan region. Why don't you go to Barcelona and go, hey,
yeah,
try get a TV deal there, and even if it's a few grand or whatever, you
yeah,
know, it's better than nothing. And and also in his interview as well, he kept refusing to answer a few questions. So one of them was he kept saying that he didn't recommend 14 teams to anyone, and then he evaded the answer, and lo and behold, we get 14 teams.
mm,
So it's weird how these things sort of happen that Nigel Wood didn't recommend 14 teams, but yet now 14 teams have suddenly been voted in.
mm,
It's just so frustrating. But
yeah,
the one thing that we all agree, though, Nigel Wood's first term, one thing that I think everyone can say that he did get right was the Magic Weekend.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
profitable. I think every year it makes about £500,000 profit for the RFL.
yeah,
So you'd think the one thing that he got right would be safe.
yeah,
That's profitable, that makes money for the sport year on year, that brings money to a local economy. You know, it made over 100 million. This was Newcastle stats, not Nigel Wood's accountant stats for the Newcastle economy. We spoke about it on a podcast a couple of weeks ago where we said, why aren't you going to other cities and going, how much do you want for this?
yeah,
And then
exactly that.
bidding for it. We're
Yeah,
now talking about getting rid of it. And from what Degsy has apparently said online, which I read, he was on about it being a last 16 of a Challenge Cup and a nines tournament.
we've said on our pod, we've said about. I mean, my magic thing would be, a quarterfinals, as a day out for the Challenge Cup. I see where they're going with the last 16, but that hasn't got the appeal of a Super League Magic Weekend because the games could be absolute blowouts. The games could be poor.
Hmm.
You could end up in the last 16. You could end up with, I don't know, Warrington versus Swinton,
But
and it's an
what?
80-0, and no one's bothered about watching that, are they? I'm not.
No,
I'm not quite sure you'd have the
the
same.
pulling power.
No, and I know. I mean, I think we've slipped up over the some time, and I think it's great, and I think the concept is great, and I think we've took it to some places where I just don't see why we've took it there, But on the whole, I think
Anfield.
it's been great. Yeah, we went to Leeds a couple of. Why are we going to Leeds? You know,
Yeah.
why are we going to
But
Leeds? Edinburgh, I don't think particularly worked because of where Murrayfield is, for example.
yeah,
Um, my favourite's always been Cardiff. The,
Cardiff
the
and one, for me, the home of Magic Weekend should be in a place that's never tried.
yeah,
Dublin.
Dublin. Yeah, yeah. And
I think it's
we've
the
had all these
perfect city.
rumours, haven't we, that they'd take it to Coventry and all this type of stuff and different things. Um, but you're right. Sorry, on the actual concept, then yes, it's been sound. But you're right about what we said before. If you had Catalans versus Toulouse at Magic, the only thing I don't think they've ever got right, and they've never really come up with Magic, is how the fixtures are compiled.
Well, it's simple. If you want derbies, a team loses a home game for 2 years.
Yeah.
So if you want derbies there, the Magic round slots into your 26 game calendar, and a team forfeits a home game. So if it's Saints Wigan, Saints forfeit a home game 1 year, and then the next year they get a home game. That's the only way you can do it if you want derbies. If not, you've just got to go for league positions from the year before.
And you've got a one loop fixture, haven't you? Which in the
Yeah.
main wouldn't make a massive lot of difference to the table.
No, like you couldn't, for example, have first versus 12, second versus, you couldn't do that.
No.
But you could do first and third, or first and second, third and
First,
fourth,
second,
fifth
third,
and sixth.
3, 4, 5, 6, etc.
Yeah. So you've got the perfect fixture there, and that can be your loop fixtures. We want derbies, but for me, I just don't see an issue with slotting it in as a part of a regular fixture around there. You don't have a loop fixture. Like, it doesn't have to be a loop
It
fixture.
is the whole thing about. I mean, is the whole thing around? Well, actually, if we didn't have that, and we didn't have Catalan, we didn't have trips to France, people would then travel more to away games, and clubs would be richer because of it. Is that the underlying? Is that the underlying thought here from these people?
Probably. Probably.
You know,
If we have less events,
would
we have
would
more away days and more money in our pockets.
would we then
More pies and peas
fill?
sold.
Yeah, and would we exactly that? And would we have a bigger attendance at the Challenge Cup final, for example, or the Grand Final, because
I
you're
don't think so.
limiting? No, I don't think so either, because I think the days of rugby league people going to
Big away
London
day.
for a day out are gone, because I just think it's a logistical nightmare getting to London.
And also, anyone can go London. Like back in the day, it was like, oh yeah, we're going London.
Going London, I know.
Whereas
Going to that
now,
London, yeah, yeah,
yeah, going down, like the old Corrie episodes are like, London,
I
you going
know, yeah,
there? Like
and
it's like that.
and
Whereas now you
that's
can just get
exactly
a
that.
train and
So now you've got are the A trying to increase those numbers of those what they would call prestigious events, the massive events, England internationals. I mean, to be fair, the public, the imagination has been caught with the Ashes anyway, hasn't it? So people aren't
yeah,
saying, right, well, I'm still going to spend money on this England and Australia game because that whets my appetite. So if you've got events that whet people's appetite, people will find the money to go.
yeah. And if you end up putting a nines tournament on, people won't go
Well, would you? Do you know what?
because
I'm older
clubs
than
won't
you.
release the players
I
for a start.
remember they used to have a They used to have a nines tournament back
Didn't
in
they have it
back
in
in.
Leeds?
Well, no, the one I went to was at Wigan. It was at Central Park.
Was it? Oh, that's that
Yeah,
long ago.
which well, and it was the British Coal Nines, and that's what
Right.
it was.
Okay.
That's what it was called. And it was hilarious because Wigan opened up the proceedings, and I can't remember who they played, but they got beaten. Most of the crowd walked out after that one game. It's true. But
So
I
there
do
you
remember
go.
on that. But I tell you, who played for Saints on that night, and he was still rubbish then. Michael O'Connor,
All right. Okay.
and he was in the team on that night, and he still didn't stand out in a nines tournament like that. So
Ugh.
that would have been about what 87, I reckon, something like that then.
Yeah, be around
80,
that.
87, 80,
If
yeah,
British
because
Coal was still going, then definitely.
yeah, 87 or 89. It would have been 89, I think, because didn't O'Connor and Vortin come back for the final, and we got smashed 27-0. That was 89.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So that's when it would have
14.
been. Yeah, so that
He
British Coal
captained us,
Nines would
didn't
have
he?
been around about 1989. And I remember going to
Yeah, it
that
would have
because
been.
look at this. And now this is great. And I think in that night, I think they had an all-star team. I think they had Papua New Guinea playing. Um
Yeah.
and but it was a novelty.
Yeah,
but time and the game has moved on since then. I mean, don't forget at
yeah.
that time you had things like
Novelties
John
were
Coyle
off as well.
Trophy, you had Lancashire Cup, you had Premiership
Get
playoffs.
about a million games a season.
Exactly that. So people just used to go, and it was great because that was another night out to go and watch rugby league.
Yeah,
Whereas now you're fighting against so many more different things and so many more on. You're fighting for people's time a lot more, and
hmm
it's got to
and
be
finances.
finances, and it's got to be something that says, "Come and watch this because this is worth it."
Yeah,
And you're right in what you said about the players. Unless you could guarantee all-star first team squads, people wouldn't go.
no. I mean, you see it at the England mid-season internationals where half of the team aren't playing. So you're
Yeah,
not going to have your NRL players. So why would I go?
yeah.
Herbie Farnworth's not going to rock up for a game against France and stuff like
No.
that. So
Well,
like
not
it's
anytime
well,
soon.
not now, not
Yeah,
now. He's done his army.
yeah. Let's hope he's all right.
Yeah,
Um,
hopefully just 8 weeks.
yeah, I hope
He'll be
so.
back.
We will miss him, but yeah. But
Just
it's
don't
got to
tinker with
be
what's not
exciting.
broken.
Yeah,
If it's
and a
not broken, don't
nines,
fix it.
no. But then I've heard about this nines. Oh, we could expand it and invite rugby union teams and things like that. What for?
Why would you invite them?
Like what for? There was,
They've
you know, you could,
taken rugby off us. They've taken the Lions
yeah,
brand
yeah,
and ran with it. Why do we want to give them anything else?
exactly
Sod 'em?
that. And I was like, we don't even need it, which to me says we're not convinced by this nines idea. So what we'll try and do is jazz it up with some sort of gimmick, and we'll
Yeah,
invite an NFL team, or we'll invite a rugby union team, or do you know what I mean? Whatever it is,
yeah,
it's like,
a
you know,
gimmick.
yeah. And how serious do the players take it? How serious do the clubs take it?
No, they won't be
The
asked.
only club that would say they were taking it seriously is the one that won it.
Yes, it's kind of
That's
like
it.
that pre-season challenge over here when Manly won it, and they went,
Yeah,
hey, they're all celebrating and like, yeah,
yeah,
we won the pre-season.
exactly that. Yeah,
It's like, yeah, but Saints finished second.
yeah, and that's it. So yeah, a nines, no, that doesn't do anything for me. And would I
Well,
go?
if you've got some
Probably
in a
not.
sport that's got so little resources, and the one thing you've got that you guarantee make a profit at the end of the
Yeah,
year, and your businessman moaning about how little funds we have, how much money you're spending, why are you even debating getting rid of it?
yeah, that's right. Oh, and the
Because you want
nines.
more. Because you want more people buying a pie and a
Mm,
pint on a
well,
match day.
well, the nines. You could guarantee it'd be at Headingley, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100% would be at Edinley.
It'd
And
either be at
like,
Headingley or Craven Park. One of them, yeah.
hang on, Wembley of the North,
Wembley of the North. Yeah, that could host it. Yeah, yeah,
and then at half time, Caravan Derby
yeah.
after between the games.
Little bit of stock
We've
car
got
racing
it.
at half time. Yeah.
We've got it. There you go.
Put the
Maybe bring the
yeah
greyhounds out for one
put the
last
pitch back.
track.
Put the pitch back down. The cards are coming out again. Yeah.
Oh, he's dived in the corner. What's that? Oh, it's a bumper.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
cut himself on a bumper.
Yeah. Oh dear.
So basically, keep Magic Weekend and let's not be corrupt as a sport. Or at least if you are going to be corrupt, at least be less obvious about it.
Well, maybe Sport England's investigations will uncover something. I doubt it because I think
Well,
they'll
yeah,
be able
we
to.
haven't even
No,
got into that.
but I
That they're
think they'll wiggle. I
investigating
think they'll
Nigel
wiggle the way
Woods.
out of that. I think they'll
They'll
have
find loopholes.
explanations for how it's come about and what's happened that will be cleverly, probably legally, be able to satisfy Sport England's inquisition.
Yeah. Well, from Nigel Wood's interview, he got asked towards halfway towards the end of last year. So this has been in the works for 12 months.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's obvious that it wasn't necessarily a temporary role from the start that was planned for him. From the outside looking in, obviously, we can't confirm that. It just looks like that.
I think the biggest thing with this, with that and the Sport England thing is, do we lose any money? Does Sport England
Yes,
say, not happy with this, we lose
yes.
money? At that point, we're in big trouble. And at that point, there has to be some fingers pointed and they have to take a look at themselves if that's the case. Because that, I don't think, would go away.
No, it wouldn't.
That would be our, that would be our Epstein files. It's not going away.
The RFL sponsored by
Yeah.
Odsel Stadium.
Yeah.
Odsel
So
Stadium's our Epstein's Island.
it is, but but that would be massive. That would be massive.
But anyway, the Pies and Peas Brigade hopefully will get the comeuppance with that Sports England investigation.
Mm,
Andy, I know you're in a rush to get off. We could have chatted for so much longer about all this
I
stuff,
know.
but
Time
it's
flies.
been an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure to have you on again. We will be doing regular episodes, especially now that this sport just keeps churning. We've got Degsy's soft interview that I haven't even spoken about. That can be a whole new episode. I'm sure I'll be
Yeah.
doing a reaction to it. I might do it like a TikTok live or something,
Yeah.
listening to it.
Listening to it in comment. Yeah.
So, but Andy, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, mate, as
And
always.
you have been listening to the Rugby League Pom-Cast. This is the Super League Pom-Cast, and thanks for listening.